Hello YouTube, this is Christian coming to you with another review, and today on the table is Vanquest Javelin 18. This is obviously a plaque bag, and if you've seen my previous videos, I have been a long-term user of the Maxpedition Sitka Gear Slinger, and I have that in a sandstone kind of color, and the occasion arose and I always wanted to have a look at the Vanquest Sling Backpack for comparison's sake, mostly also because I enjoy their Envoy messenger bag quite a lot, and I love their interior and their workmanship and their quality of their bags. So with that sent ahead, this bag is a little bit more on a toned down military look, if you want to put it this way. The entire pulse webbing is not as pronounced, doesn't stand out as much, and therefore you get the versatility of a military style attachment while at the same time keeping it a little bit more civil looking. And for me, at least for the last week, that has been something I greatly enjoyed. Not being all too concerned usually, but I had to travel to Wellington. I had to travel by air, and so I was after something that wasn't quite looking as if I was coming straight from a deployment or something along these lines. So that actually kind of was the reason why I got this bag, and I wanted to explore whether it is a viable alternative to my Sitka. So that being said, I want to go over the bag features, so it's going to be a little bit of a longer video this time around. Just going into the details of all this conglomerate of pockets and bits and pieces is going to take some time, and at the same time I also want to talk about how it stacks up in comparison to the Sitka. It is quite similar in size. It's an 18-liter bag. The Sitka comes in at 15 liters on paper. That being said, I can't make out a significant volume difference between the two. On the face of it, this almost appears to be a bit smaller. Whether that is due to its shape, I'm not entirely certain. I haven't done any internal measurements with water platters or along these lines to confirm the dimensions, but the Sitka appears to be bigger, if anything, whereas this appears to be more compact. But it has more depth to it, and that can be at times deceiving. So it packs fairly well, and I certainly get everything into it that I need in a day pack. So I'm not too concerned, but just keep in mind it's not a big pack by any means. Really, for daily EDC, it is about perfect for me, and that's why I went for this size. They also have bigger offerings in that style, but you lose the option of converting it to a sling bag, and that kind of ruled it out for me, and I just really needed to see whether that size would fit all my needs. Now, getting on to the bag. You can see it's a similar layout to the Sitka. They are quite comparable in a lot of ways, and one of them is the way they laid out the pockets. So starting off with the materials used on this bag. This is a 500D Cordura, which is a little bit lighter by comparison to the Maxpedition offering, but I can honestly say, out of my experiences with Cordura nylon fabrics, it's a non-issue. I haven't seen any of these Cordura bags wear undue in reasonable time frames with reasonable use. So I can really attest to the stitching of the Vanquest products or the Maxpedition products being really top-notch, and also the material used are simply time-proven and really well-suited for high abrasive surroundings. So no concerns whatsoever. As far as stitching and materials are concerned, you're getting top of the shelf, and that should be somewhat reassuring. You can see that by comparison to many other military bags, it's not as obvious, and the reason is that they are just changing the way they lay out their pals webbing. In this case, that's laser cut Cordura on the front here, which makes the functionality almost disappear unless you really know what you're looking for. You really just see a pattern there, and it's not something that you would associate freely with a military application. So it takes that out a little bit. These are perhaps a little bit stiffer if you plan to put attachments into those laser cut Cordura webbing slots, but they work fine, and I haven't seen anything that tells me that they're going to be wearing any quicker than just a traditional webbing. On top here you have a little carry handle, which might come in useful if you have to put it out of or into a top compartment on the aeroplane, or into your car. Just an additional grab handle, which is appreciated. And then you also see another material used on these bags, which is called Hypalon, which is kind of an interwoven rubberized webbing, and it's quite crabby and also very, very strong. So I like these little Hypalon loops. They're also on the side of the bag and substitute traditional webbing on the side for your PAL's functionality. But these up here, they're probably a good point to put a keeper on, or a good point to attach a rear light when you're biking. So these will come in handy one way or the other. And then you have your loop patches, one around here. If you choose to put something on here, it would go over the Vanquest logo, so you have the opportunity to customize your branding and get the branding out of the way and put whatever patch you like on top of that one. And up here there's another loop patch, also with a little bit of PAL's webbing integrated into that one. Then on top of that you get your bungee cord, and yeah, well, if I never use them, but if you're in a hurry and you need to stuff something on top of your bag, these can come in handy. So in this particular case I like to just keep it on. You have additional loops here on the side, which you can use also to take that bungee cord down onto those and then strap down a bigger item if that is what you need to do. Moving on to the bigger admin pouch on the front. I like the fact that this is actually a full clamshell style admin pouch that you can open up completely and expose its content for easy access. You get your normal pen style pouches in here, one that is a little bit bigger, maybe for a Ride in the Rain pad or something along these lines, if you want to put it in here. Personally, I just keep my little micro EDC pouch in here for my charging accessories, and then on top of that you get a little keeper for attaching your keys or whatever item you don't want to fall out when you open this particular pouch. Now on the other side, on the other side you have a little translucent see-through webbing, which is something they do really nicely. It doesn't look as cheap as a clear plastic pouch. Allows you to see the contents somewhat and still have a relatively durable material there that isn't going to wear in a hurry. Now, one thing I really like about the way Vanquest does some things is little details like that one. This has two hook and loop patches here, which limits the size of the gap when you're actually looking at this one. So I had it quite frequently, let's say in 511 bags, where they're just putting one Velcro patch in the middle and you end up with two big gaps on the side. And then on a pouch like that, you open it up and all your smaller contents roll out of your bag. This is a sure good way to limit this kind of risk of losing stuff without you noticing. I like it. Personally, that's a bit of a philosophy thing. for me, I would like it if that was actually reversed, if the opening was actually here, because the way I would want to access this pouch would actually be from this side rather than from that side. But there's a point to be made that some people will access this bag standing up, and so they will want to access it from this end. But that's just a personal preference. But it's well done, no matter which way you look at it. Then one of the things that really stand out for me with everything Vanquest is just they use a really nice ripstop nylon for their internal pouches, giving you that nice high contrast interior that makes it easy for you to see the contents. And I never thought it was a big thing until I went back to another bag and I found myself really missing the contrast feature of the interior. So something where I would really like to see Maxpedition and Vanquest kind of making love and having a baby together, where I can see that kind of feature and some of the Maxpedition features of the Sitka gear slinger merged into one pack. And one of the features I would want in that evolution would certainly be a high contrast interior, whether that's red, green, orange, I wouldn't mind so much, but that is certainly something that Vanquest does really well, and it is a greatly appreciated feature. So kudos for that, and it carries on throughout the entire bag, so something I really like. Top pouch, this is just a top pouch, but you can open it completely as well, so it's a complete clamshell too. In here it's still packed from my recent trip to Wellington. I've got my reading glasses, just my earbuds, a parent flashlight, a headband for the flashlight, and in here you have another zippered see-through compartment for charging accessories or smaller items that you want to keep from falling out. This is actually a decent size. It's not too small, not too big, so that is rather well done. Now moving on to the top of the bag, you can see also in this case they inverse their zippers, so pretty much the zipper is well protected by the fabric webbing of the zipper construction. It is one way to dust proof your zippers, just by inversing your zippers. That works really well. Other companies do it differently, like 511, they usually have a fabric latch going over that, but I find it to be a little bit restrictive in regards to opening and closing your zippers. It quite often comes in the way, so this is the preferred way for me of doing it. It looks nice, you don't have the zippers exposed, so that's great. Carry handle up here, nice and padded. They have some kind of gel foam in here that makes it really nice and spongy and comfortable to hold. I like their handles a lot. And then you have a little bit more webbing for attaching things or tying things to your bag. Moving on to the side of the bag, you can see that right here they have a unique way of contouring the lid of the bag. And as we move on to the internals later on and explore the way you can actually set this bag up, we'll have a closer look at those. But these are also Hypalon patches for attaching your Molly accessories, so that's just your standard PALS spacing, and the Hypalon is kind of a rubberized fabric that is really tough and durable, and I have that on a number of bags, some from Maxpedition. They use it in their AGR line, and I can vouch for this material to be really good in terms of durability. On the other side, the bag doesn't come with any kind of bottle holder, so Vanquest, they do their own. It is kind of a bungee cord construction. Personally, I like the one from Expedition a fair bit better. It is a flat pack that can expand for bigger bottles, and that is what I attached to the other side. But other than that, you can see underneath the way the bag lid is constructed is exactly symmetrical to the other side of the bag. On top of that, there's a little latch there that allows you to restrict your zipper movement, which we will come to a little bit later on. So going on to the bag of the bag, so right here what you get is 2 backpack shoulder straps, and they are attached to your backpack by means of a hook and looped section up here. So let's open that up and have a closer look at that one. So you can see that you have a hook and loop section on here that pretty much latches onto the spine of the backpack, and then there's another hook section here that attaches to both the backpack and to your shoulder strap. On top of that, there's an additional feature. There's a little G hook integrated into it that hooks into a loop and gives you additional strain resistance on top, which is a rather nice and intuitive way to attach your shoulder straps, especially if you want to be able to switch things around and to convert it to a sling pack later on. So on top of that, you get these little Velcro or hook and loop keepers. So if you want to run a drink platter from the interior of the bag out over your shoulder strap, you've got those little fellas to help you getting your hose under control, and you've got a little pass-through piece of elastic band here, which could be used, I suppose, in a number of ways for communication equipment or for the hose of your drink platter. These shoulder straps are fairly well padded. Personally, I think I could do away with slightly wider and a little bit more padding, but that being said, it's a light pack and it's not a biggie. They are relatively comfortable. Just coming from the Sitka, I'm used to a wider and longer and stronger padded shoulder strip, and if you're using it as a sling pack, then obviously all your weight will be just on one shoulder, and therefore just having it a bit wider, a little bit more padded, adds to your comfort. So going further down, what we have is your sternum strap, which can be removed with those buttons and moved to any position you prefer. So that's good. And then there's another Hypalon patch here. Once again, as an attachment point, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe, yeah, for your drinking hose, but for a molly attachment, you would want something a little bit wider, and you would want 2 of them, and you would want them probably at a slightly different location as well. Moving down, you have a protected buckle. These are cinched down fairly well, so there's nothing wrong with the functionality of these buckles. They work rather well, and then your compression bit is actually hiding away under the elastic band there, which is appreciated, but personally I would prefer those also to be 1 to 2 sizes bigger than what they actually are, but that's just a personal preference. Then down here, just in case you don't need them, you get these little tuck away slots in which you can stow away the lower parts of your shoulder strap buckles. And as per usual, you get those little keepers, or hook and loop strips that allow you to roll up the remnant of your shoulder strap and avoid having dangling pieces of webbing wherever you go. So that's a positive. Then on the back side of the pack, you can see you do have a little bit of padding going on here, which is ventilated mesh. So that is not big by any means, but it provides you with a certain amount of comfort and breathability. Moving on, which I believe you guys in the United States will appreciate, in here, accessible from both sides, we do have our concealed carry compartment, and in here is just a watertight bag and my sealskin gloves, which I like to carry with me in winter all the time. And then again, the interior of this one, let's see if I can get that on camera properly, is on this side hook and loop section, which allows you to put your holster in there or attach other accessories on this side. Personally, I'm not entirely sure about this feature, mostly because if I was to stick a firearm in here and had my pack relatively full, then I would have a relatively high spot in here where the gun would push against my bag. Maybe that's reassuring, but I would think that it is also a little bit uncomfortable. So I use it for other items that I just want out of the way, that I don't need all too often. They can live in here. You could perhaps also use that as a pass-through for a trolley, but I'm not entirely sure if it's designed for that and if the zippers are actually gonna live up to that kind of usage. So I'm just wagering a guess here. Moving on to the bottom of the pack, they added some additional webbing here. So if you wanted to attach something to the bottom of your bag, you could. There's some additional loops here too, and I believe this is also a little bit heavier duty Cordura, which feels a little bit stiffer and a little bit heavier than the rest of the bag for protection. I don't think I would be using those a lot, but I appreciate they are there because they will take the majority of abrasion if you put the bag down. So if the first thing that's going to wear is actually not the body of your bag, but rather these straps here, and that is something I appreciate. So while we're on the back side, we might as well look at the way that Vanquest has done the conversion between backpack and sling pack. So this is something I'm a little bit torn about, because for me, I like the fact that you can convert it. Absolutely. It is, however, not quite ending up on the same level of comfort as, let's say, with a Maxpedition Sitka. That being said, I see scenarios where this would be fine for me as a backpack. So there's a downside and there's an upside to it. So let's explore what we can do with this one in terms of converting it to a sling pack. What you got to do is you're going to open up this patch of Velcro there, and then you're going to remove that G hook out of that top here, and that enables you to remove this strap from this attachment point, and you can close that up. And now what we got to do is we got to do the same thing for the other side, because there is a natural curvature to your shoulder straps, and you actually want that curvature to be exactly the other way around. So what I'm doing, I'm converting this now to a left shoulder sling pack. And so what used to be on this side is now moving over to this side to give you that curvature that makes it more comfortable as a sling pack. So we're going to open that back up again, going to line it up with our hook up there, Velcro it in, close the button, and then hook our G-hook back into that piece of webbing there. And there you go. And your pack is converted to a sling pack. And one of the important features for me in the sling pack is that they have this V connection. That sternum strap is now serving as that V connection. And why that is great and important for me to have in a sling pack is it allows me to undo this buckle, just put it over one shoulder like I would do with a backpack, then pull that down and close it down like that. So that is one of the great features. Another one of the great features is in a sling pack you can open this buckle, and if you have it on your back you can now swing it around on your shoulder and get to the side of the bag. And in this case it would be sitting right in front of me in the area of my solar plexus, just above my belly button. It would be right in front of me, and I don't have to take the backpack down or put it into the dirt to access my contents. And that is what I love about sling packs. And this is also where this one is great in a lot of ways. And one of the ways it is great is that it is actually constructed in such a way that these zippers here allow you access to this uniquely shaped access pouch, or main compartment opening if you like, right? So what I've got in here is the items that I want to access without taking the backpack down. And so I have the backpack no longer in a vertical but in a horizontal orientation, and that is where I can get to my first aid pouch here. So in this case also I slimmed it down, especially for airport travel. I wanted a bit lighter and a little bit more compact, and I put one of the first responder pouches from Vanquest into that one, which is a great little pouch that will come in a future review. And then here's my little EDC pouch, and down there that is just an organizer, a packing cube for my change of clothes. So that just means my EDC stuff is sitting right here, nicely accessible for me if I need it in a hurry. So that's neatly accessible without putting the backpack down and without needing to open the entirety of my backpack. And especially for urban use, I feel this is a great feature. It is a great feature because the last thing I want to do, let's say in a central business district where there's a lot of foot traffic, find a spot to sit down and then open up the entire clamshell and open it up all the way. And I show you what that would look like at that point in time too, because that is exactly the scenario you would have to go through. If you wanted to access your first aid pouch, you would need to find a spot to put it down, open it up all the way, and then you have it all sitting there exposed in the middle of town, right? Whether that is something you want, I don't know. Personally, I don't. So this is great when you're back at the hotel. You have everything nicely accessible, but it's not so great if you're in the middle of town and you have to lay it all out. And therefore, a divided interior that is accessible in the way that Vanquest has done it right here is actually a great little feature. So you get the best of both worlds. You get a fully opening clamshell, and at the same time you get a divided and compartmentalized interior. And the way they achieve that is by the means of their internal dividers and their hook and loop interior. And so this is something I've been really looking forward to, and to see whether it's just a theoretical concept that that I like in my mind, or whether it is something that is actually of practical use. And I have to say, I like it. I like it a lot. And the reason is that they come with two of those internal dividers that you can use to pretty much create little compartments in here for side access. Great. Also, if you want to, let's say, go out with your camera gear, you have a DSLR or you have a camera with a number of objectives and lenses, and then you want to just be able to stack them in here and have access to them with ease. And in this case, you might be familiar with that kind of divider anyways from your camera bags. So what has been kind of a day-to-day item in most camera bags has now made the transition into EDC, really. And it is a nifty little feature that I like a lot. So the bag comes with two of those, right? Then on top of that, what you're getting is those two see-through pouches, and for a nice change, they are a little bit tight, but you can see they actually offer a little bit of volume down there, just because they have doubled up on the material there and laid it over into a fold-away kind of pouch. And that's a nice feature as well. Another great feature of the Velcro lining is, of course, it is relatively easy on your gear. It is like a felt lining. It is resisting, or it's not putting any scratches or marks into your stuff. So if you were to put, even loosely, an iPad or something along these lines into these pockets, you wouldn't have to worry about scratching anything. And in conjunction with some packing cubes, and this is once again a Vanquest one. In this case it's just a very good fit, as you can see, so that just fills it out quite nicely. It just makes sense to add a feature where you can actually stick your packing cube to a place and it won't move around in your bag. You can also put some plines on that and make it a slide in, slide out kind of scenario. That's entirely up to you. But these are a great feature. In this case, it only contains a change of clothes. And I'm abusing this one also as a compression cube. So you open them up and they extend considerably in volume. If you open them up, you can see that they go into 3 times the volume, and you can get a fair bit of stuff into that. But why I say I'm abusing them, because I'm using the zipper to actually compress the internals and keep it a little bit more compact. Great little feature. You can put your own tags on that one to identify what is in which cube, in which packing cube, and for me it's just a great way to organize my stuff, and I don't want it falling around in my backpack, especially if I'm carrying items that I want to access on the fly. These are also available in various sizes. Have a look on their website. I don't have all the sizes in my head, but that's a medium packing cube. They make a bigger one and they make 2 smaller ones. And they're a great feature to have, and they go great with these backpacks, mostly because they actually provide a good fit with the internal compartments of these bags. So lastly, over here on top of the compartment you have a notebook sleeve. I fitted my daughter's Microsoft Surface laptop, which I believe is a 15-inch, which just went in snug. I wouldn't recommend trying anything bigger than that, but check their website. They will give you a good idea what fits into that. And underneath your little elastic band here that holds your notebook sleeve in place, you have your attachment for a drink platter if you choose to use that one. So that is relatively nicely done. So let's put that back together, and I'll show you another great feature of this bag. And by the way, you can see that around here they include these little hypalon latches, which give you a holding point to hold on to the bag while you're actually trying to close the zipper, which is also a well thought through feature. And you will find that if you're trying to close the zipper here at the very end of its travel, you're really looking for something to hold on to, because these are rather big zippers and they have to navigate around rather tight radiuses, and so they're not as easy to manipulate, especially from new, as you would think. So you need to accommodate that. So just packing it up again, just putting my divider back into the pack, latch on the Velcro, put in the first aid kit, put in the clothing pack into there, and that would be my EDC gear. So now what you have is the bottom compartment accessible from the side, but if you're out and about and you just want to use the top compartment as your drop bag, then everything else becomes accessible from top here. So whether you put one divider in, 2 or 3 depends on the size of your items, but it kind of offers you 3 things in one. So one is a drop pouch in the top for bigger items, just like you would have in some traditional backpacks, and that is also where these zipper limiters, if I might call them that, come into play, which just prevent you from opening the bag too far and to prevent the contents from falling out. And then you have the other option to access everything from the side, and the third option is to actually lay it down and use it as a clamshell opening it all the way up, and that gives you great access for packing it up and for storing bigger items. Now, that is in summary the features of this particular bag. Now let's have a look at the little gripes, the little things that I think are maybe not quite perfect yet. And one of the things is that this is a rather big, sturdy, hard use zipper, and it is great, it is appreciated. But at the same time, this relatively large zipper has to navigate some really tight radiuses on this particular part of your bag. If you plan to use it as a sling pack, you can see how just navigating these corners is not as smooth as you would hope it to be. Now, I'm criticizing this without offering a solution. I don't know if it's feasible to put a smaller zipper into this area, if it would still stand up to everything, but I could imagine that a smaller zipper would have an easier time navigating these tight radiuses. Whether there's any other way of constructing this kind of functionality into a bag like that without sacrificing the smoothness of your zipper pulls, I don't know. But what I can tell you from this perspective is that this is one of the more annoying bits of this particular bag. It's just that this great functionality is a little bit limited by the stiffness of the zippers around this area. And don't get it wrong, but if you're out and about and you want to access this, let's say in a photography environment, then you want to make sure that you have that kind of halfway open already, or have that sitting here somewhere where you don't have to overcome the tight spots so you can access your stuff quickly, because it is going to take some time to navigate these open and closed. And that also kind of makes these a little bit surplus to requirements, because your zipper there isn't naturally going to just drop all the way down anyways, right? So this is kind of an interesting idea, and perhaps from a marketing side it makes a lot of sense to point it to the people's attention, to say, oh, this is stopping my zipper, so I'm supposed to just pull it to here to open it from top and use the lower bit only by opening that up. But really that area here where it goes into the radius is hard to navigate, and you're never going to overslide that anyways. You have to make a really positive effort to open that up, and so I'm not entirely sure if these are needed. They would be if that area of the zipper would be running a little bit smoother. So that's that one. And now to the big one on the other side. That is generally the question, do I need that kind of conversion in a small bag like this? And it's a very valid question, and I can't clearly answer that with a yes and no. But what I can tell you is that it is a compromise. So it offers you the best of both worlds. You can use it as a backpack, and you can use it as a sling pack. What you get out of that compromise, however, is it's not going to be the most comfortable sling pack of that size, and it is not going to be the most comfortable backpack of this size. Whereas the backpack comfortability isn't going to be impacted quite as badly as a sling pack functionality. I would say that for comparable money you can probably get better carrying systems from other manufacturers. Looking at the sling pack side of things, two things stand out for me, and this is me coming from using a Sitka gear slinger, which for me is a reference in terms of carry comfort and ergonomics in a sling pack. And that is, for one, a much wider shoulder strap, which offers, with more padding, a better carrying experience. Also, the fact that your actual shoulder strap in a Sitka or in a dedicated sling pack runs a fair bit longer before it actually transitions into the buckle area. And the reason is that if you're going across body with a sling, you need more length to accommodate your shoulder strap, because it runs longer over your body on the diagonal than it does on the straight. And so it has to cover more ground. So in a sling pack, usually the shoulder strap is longer. And what that also means is that all your front carrying that you can do on a sling pack, let's say like the Moab 10 or the Sitka, all your front carrying moves further down to allocate it properly somewhere in your chest area where it makes sense to access it. With this bag, it kind of puts this buckle somewhere in my upper chest area, and the bag then rides relatively low on my bag. If I compare that to a Sitka gear slinger, then my buckle sits much lower at a much more natural point, and it has a much wider buckle. And that is another point. You want a big buckle, because with a sling pack, what you rely on a daily routine, taking it on and off, you're going to be actually using this buckle all the time. Every time you take it off, every time you put it on, you're going to open that buckle. In a backpack, that's a different story, because you're just going to slip the shoulder straps of your shoulders, and away you go. So in a backpack scenario, this buckle really mostly serves the purpose of cinching down and adjusting the seating. It is not generally used to take off and take on your backpack. And this is where this falls a little bit short in comparison. It's because the shoulder strap needs to be a bit wider, it needs to be a fair bit longer, and it needs to have a heavier duty, wider buckle at the bottom to accommodate the way you use a sling pack. That is one thing. The other thing is that in a good sling pack you have the entire geometry actually designed to have that V situation that you have, that triangle situation that you have with your support strap. You have that laid out slightly differently, and that makes a difference too. Don't get it the wrong way, it works beautifully as a sling pack. It's just not quite as good as it could be. So if I was Vanquest, which I'm not, but if I was Vanquest, what I would do is I would offer an additional shoulder strap that is longer, that is wider, that has thicker padding, that perhaps you can buy as an aftermarket accessory to bring it up to the same kind of level as a Sitka gear slinger in terms of carry comfort. So that had to come out. That is just a mild disappointment in regards to using this pack as a sling pack by comparison to the Maxpedition one. As far as the usage as a backpack is concerned, it's not nearly on the same level. That works fine as a backpack. There's no doubt whatsoever about this. It works fine. It is just an 18 liter, so you're not going to carry huge loads with it, and the shoulder padding and all that is absolutely functional. So there's no real complaints there, and you would have to get really nitpicky to point out features in this that are not quite there. So, but that's just not the case. The only other thing that I would like to mention that I would enjoy having on a sling pack like that with an extended shoulder pad is actually attachment points, pals webbing in the area around my chest region, to put a phone pouch, to put some accessory pouch that I can access on the front shoulder strap. That would be extremely helpful. My options here are a little bit limited. Sure, I mean, you can jerry-rig something, but that is not the reason why you're buying something like that in the first place. You buy it because it has a lot of features, a lot of gimmicks, a lot of things that you use in daily life, and that is also one of the things that I use a lot. Is just on the shoulder strap I like to have the ability to put a phone pouch there, because that is just for me the natural way to quickly access my phone, especially when I'm on a bike or something along these lines. So yeah, that being said, that sounds maybe now a little bit harsh and a little bit negative. All up, I love this bag and I'm going to keep it. And the interesting bit is that it is kind of interesting because of all its little niggles. While it's not exceptional in some areas, it has so many faces and has so many possibilities for you to organize your things, that it kind of opens you up to thinking differently about what you carry, why you carry, and how you carry. And that is great, and I absolutely love it about that. And what I'm going to explore over the next few weeks is just organizing that interior and kind of bring all the more frequently used items into the top compartment and the less frequently accessed items onto the bottom compartment, and just see how that changes the perception of the bag. But at 170 thereabouts US dollars. It's certainly not a bargain. I wouldn't say it's a bargain. It is a high quality product and you pay the price for it. And it's a fair price too for what you're getting, the kind of quality that you're getting. For me, just comparing it to the Maxpedition products, if you get a Maxpedition Gear Slinger Sitka on a BOGO sale, which means buy one, get another one, then you're paying half the price for the Sitka, kind of, if you flick the other one on or if you get a second bag, which also kind of gets me to another point, which is to say, instead of going for a hybrid, what you could also be doing is wait for a BOGO sale, get the Sitka and get another backpack for the same price. And then, you know, you don't have to compromise either way. That is another way to look at it. But that being said, in a more toned down carry situation, for sling pack, it would still be one of my top choices. So I'll be keeping that bag just because I got it in black and it doesn't have as much of the Pelz webbing that puts it into the military category. You're a little bit more subdued and it still kind of gives me the option, or if my kids want to use it, yeah, it's about the right size to actually convert it into a backpack and maybe use it as a school bag or something along these lines. So it's a keeper. It's not a cheap keeper. It's a beautifully thought out piece of kit with a lot of functionality in it, and I can recommend it. But you also heard the downsides of it. You make up your mind. I give you as much of an insight as I possibly can with as many of the downsides as I can see, and it still ends up on the recommended list. So here you go, make of it what you will, and I hope you enjoyed this review and I catch you the next time around. Alright, you all have a good day. Bye.